Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw us some money if you think that
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle. And I got a complaint.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's that?
This is Kyle's complaint corner. Um
What's up in Kyle's complaint corner this week?
I took a my car had a bunch of shit on it, right?
Like bird shit or just like stuff?
Well, it was bird shit. It was stuff. It was like there's nowhere to park in my complex where there isn't stuff that falls on it from trees because like they want it to look all pretty, but it gets shit on my car.
Yeah.
And
This has become a very car-based intro to our podcast.
What I'm realizing right now is that I have a lot of complaints to do with cars.
Yeah.
And I took it to the car wash, Niall. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do. You go there and you pay $12 and they wash your car and you see the little Elmo that's on top of the pole. It's like waving.
At every car wash.
Yeah, most car washes, they have like the little stuffed animal guy in it. Like it says, come get a premium whatever. And you're like, thank you, Elmo. You wave on the way out to Elmo and you go. So I did that. And then guess what happens? Just a couple hours later.
You get your car gets shat on again?
It gets shit on by a bird.
Yeah.
And then
isn't it ironic? It's like rain on your wedding day.
It's really ironic. And then even further, the following morning, it rains and washes everything off like a car wash might do. And so here's what I want to here's the point I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Abandon car washes. Abolish the car wash.
What is rain but God's car wash?
Really? I mean, honestly, why do we do this? What is this? Is this some sort of ritual that like makes us feel comfortable in our cars? Is it like,
here's what you got to do. Next time you think that there's going to be a big storm coming, go out and just put some soap on your car.
Okay.
And that way the rain will do the rest of it.
Okay, so like
do the rest of the work.
Okay, so I'll just like put a bunch of soap in there, just douse the windshields in like Windex or something, and then just like stand out and maybe look and see and if it's coming down. I'm shocked that we still do car washes. That's all I'm really getting at. This has been Kyle's complaint corner. That's
That's it. Yeah.
That's a new recurring segment.
Well, here's the fucked up thing that I'm realizing is like because we both work from home a lot and basically the stuff that we have outside of podcast stuff to talk about for these like super fun intros that we do every week are basically things that have to do with when we get in a vehicle or like a movie that we watch, which is it like, hey, I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Northman this weekend. Both were great. It was a good weekend. I also watched You Were Never Really Here on my own, which was interesting. A Joaquin Phoenix movie from a couple years, from like 2017 or something. It was good. But yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is like, we're both kind of boring.
No, I don't think we're boring. I think that the world is trying to force us into a little box, Niall. Well, that's really what it's about. And we're also getting older.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that the world's trying to force me into the box where I think I should be getting a car wash, which is now, when I think about it, I bust out of that box and I say, what the fuck is the point of this?
Yeah.
Why do we do this?
I mean, we literally right before this episode started, we were both like, I was explaining like how like
coffee
the intricacies of coffee roasting.
Yeah.
So like, look, we
I
We still have some more,
hey,
engaging interests, but we also look. I've crossed the threshold of 30
I
at this point.
think that there's gotta be podcasts out there where there it is just hundreds of episodes of people talking about coffee.
Oh, for
Has to
sure.
exist. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're a little boring. Maybe we are boring 30 somethings now on going on 30 just boring stuff that we talk about. So do you have something about aliens or conspiracies for me?
I do. So I this is one of those things that I like. I've had in the back of my brain for a while, going back into the ideas of secret space programs and super soldiers,
Okay.
and I stumbled onto a gold mine this last
Okay.
week.
Now, I feel like the last time we really dug into a super soldier, it was Andy Perro.
Yes,
So eh, that was a 3-part monstrosity.
this will not be a 3-part
Okay.
episode.
Okay.
I have like I cut myself off at what I think is going to be an episode, and
Okay.
then because of the thing I found, there are many other possible
It's the
episodes that will
classic.
come out of it. Because I found an entire website, YouTube channel, everything devoted to super soldiers and like decommissioned super soldiers
Oh,
and people who have worked in those kinds of areas. So
that's amazing.
there's literally like they have like summits. So they have videos about like super soldier summits where they like all will meet up in person and discuss, the latest like regressive memories that they've like uncovered from their time as like state sponsored assassins or like people out in space and shit. So this is basically what I'm getting at is like I'm back on my bullshit. This is a thing that I find very engaging and just kind of
S-
ridiculous and fun.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Now, here's the thing. You say super soldier like meetings,
Yes.
meetups. And the only thing I can picture with a thing like that is going in there, hearing them describe them doing super soldier shit, raising my hand, the floor recognizes Kyle and just saying, "Do it right now."
Well, they can't.
Right. That's
And
the thing,
and
right?
I've got look, this will be a bit of a there's like some groundwork in this episode, and there's also I've got a full-blown account of someone's super soldier career that we're
Okay.
going to get into.
Excellent.
But I want to start off by talking about a bit about the resource that I found, the person that seems to be heading up this YouTube channel, website, everything. So today we're going to be talking about Super Soldier Talk, which is the group, and specifically one man named James Rink.
Okay.
So this is going to be a little bit scattered because it's a mixture of like a platform that I've found and stuff I've found out about this person, and also like an account that I'll get more into in a little bit. Um, so here I just want to start with like the uh, there is a YouTube account called Super Soldier Talk. There's also a website that has a lot of the similar stuff with some extra articles and stuff. And this guy also has another website called Neological Tech, which we'll talk more about in a second. But here is the about me from his YouTube page. I am a MeLab and operate Sibeus and Arbeus avatars and super soldier cyborg missions involving searches, rescues, and exterminations for Montauk and OW ops.
Oh,
I have been subjected to trauma, monarch programming, and human cloning connected to military abductions and alien mind control.
okay. Okay. So Montauk and what was the type of mind control?
Alien mind control.
Alien mind control and Project Monarch.
Yes, monarch
Mo-
programming. Yes.
Monarch programming. Okay, okay. So those are things that I recognize.
Yeah, and I went back and actually just out of curiosity, I went back to the very first video on this YouTube channel, and it actually was like really helpful because it basically was a like an alt like the history that you need to know to like start consuming any of this stuff. So
Oh, that's
I've got
amazing.
some of that here.
I remember the last time I got to do a big YouTube deep dive on a specific person,
Mhm.
and if you remember, I can't remember what episode it was, but the guy was like, "You go to the oldest videos first,
Mhm.
and it's a good couple years of him talking about finances and gold
Mhm.
until he starts talking about a conspiracy with like the moon or something." So
Yeah.
it's nice that they were just like front loading it essentially, and just dedicated to that content.
the funny thing. Okay, I don't know what you know about this, but
Very little.
the first video was like from like 11 years ago or something. Like this is a channel that's been around for quite a while, but about 6 to 8 months ago, they posted a video that was basically like, we're gonna stop posting here and we're gonna move over to Rumble. Now, do you know what Rumble is?
It's the dating service where only women can message first?
No, that's Bumble.
Oh, okay.
Rumble is basically an attempt at making right wing YouTube or free
Okay.
speech YouTube.
Oh, excellent.
Uh, 3 months ago, they started posting on YouTube again.
Okay. And did something happen to Rumble?
I think it just isn't working very well. Like
Okay.
it like you don't get nearly as many views and everything because hey, YouTube is like a monolith of content creation. So
Well, and as far as if I remember correctly, I feel like a lot of the original people who created YouTube back in 2006 got out of there because it was like going to be too much to manage with the way they wanted to scale it up.
yeah, probably.
Was part of it. So like I can only imagine what a fringe right wing trying to build their own YouTube, how hard that would be to manage.
Yeah. I didn't look too much into Rumble because I honestly don't even want to look on the web. I don't even want to go on that website.
I could
It's
theorize some really funny search terms to look
yeah,
up on Rumble though.
but before we get into that history, I want to really quick talk about neological tech, which
Yeah,
is
what the fuck?
this guy's this is maybe the best grift website I've seen.
Ah.
So this is one of the most expensive grifts that I've come across in terms of like selling shit.
I'm
So
sorry, but do you remember the last presidency? I guess most presidencies, but
oh, I mean in terms of like just trying to sell shit. Like
okay,
this
okay.
this is I guess like Trump University is probably
The
like
clowns
maybe
in
more
Congress.
expensive than
Yeah.
this, but I want to just talk about this real quick.
Okay, okay.
So Neological Tech is a website where he sells meditation cubes and quantum meditation computers, which are approximately like $1,600 or more
Okay.
if you don't get them customized. And then he sells downloads and like like CD-ROMs of programs that can be installed into them.
Sorry, the quantum computer's using a CD-ROM?
Yeah, or a digital download.
Mhm.
And these can be anywhere from like 20 all the way up to a couple $100.
Okay.
My favorite one is a $99 program entitled Quantum DMT.
So this is like eye dosing.
Yeah, it really is like new agey like grifting eye dozing.
Oh my god! If for people who don't know,
Yeah, do you want to run down eye
yeah,
dozing real quick?
there was a phenomenon. This had to have been like what, the late 2000s?
It was yeah, because it was when I was in like middle and high school
I remember this shit.
when I
Basically,
came across it.
people claimed that they could use like binaural beats to like
Yeah.
get you to simulate like drugs.
Yeah,
So you'd like download MP3s of like meth. But what I remember very specifically about it when I discovered this phenomenon
mhm.
was that they would have ones that are like, we have synthesized what it would be like to experience going to hell. And so I would like download that and like try and listen to it. And nothing would happen. I'd be
Yeah.
like, man, that's bullshit.
So yeah, it basically like it much like a lot of the 432 hertz conspiracy stuff. It basically is saying that these binaural beats align with certain brain waves and stuff to alter your brain waves and brain function to simulate the effects of drugs, going to hell, various
Orgasms,
like
probably. or,
like probably some sort of like alien abduction, like
yeah.
all anything like that like an edgy teenager would be like, oh, I can do this without like having to find out where to buy weed.
I got my werewolf blowjob Og
Yeah.
Vorbis off of.
Yeah, it's
You can simulate anything you
the
want.
fact that you pulled Og Vorbis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got fucking digital weed and M4A.
Yeah. 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 Oh, do you want the M4A strain or do you want the MP3 strain? One's
Yeah.
a little bit more head high, the other one's a little bit more of a body high.
You got to get that uncut like fucking lossless
Yeah,
audio file
yeah.
played on VLC.
Yeah, yes,
Like,
exactly. Good.
I remember I literally when I was trying to here's a way to date this. When I tried to do the iDosing stuff, when I first found out about it and downloaded a couple of the files, I was using Winamp.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I put mine on an iPod Classic.
Okay.
I put it on there and thought maybe this will do
Probably
something.
pre-iPod Classic even. Probably
I
like
think
the iPod like before there
yeah,
was an iPod when it was just
you're
like
right.
iPod and it was 30, 60, whatever
Yeah, yeah,
gigs.
yeah, yeah. You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah.
Actually, I forgot iPod Classic was like the last sort of hurrah of the iPod.
Yeah, when they were just like, "Hey, you want a big fucking hard drive that's now looking back at it 100 and what, 20 or 160
Yes,
gigs, something like that?"
that was. I was that guy with the
Yeah.
100 some gig iPod because I downloaded a bajillion songs.
Yeah, I
So,
would just find every blog with like regional screamo bands on it
yep,
and just download
yep.
everything. Yeah, so back to this stuff. This if you want to just like it, he sells his book there as well, which is entitled I think it's entitled Lone Wolf, which you can buy an
Oh
autographed
boy,
copy of.
I feel,
But it straight up is like meditation computers. It's he also sells like crystal skulls and the remember when we were watching for the Patreon the Demi Lovato series and they were in like a LED like pyramid thing.
yeah, yeah.
They sell stuff like that too for like
Okay, so
meditational pyramids to direct your energies and stuff.
I'm gonna have to take a look at these. I'm curious if this guy's just like buying a Raspberry Pi and flipping it for $1,000
Well,
or
if he
whatever.
is, he's
Like,
putting it in a weird cube box.
you can do
Because
that with a
yeah,
Raspberry Pi. So I'm guessing that's what's going on.
probably.
That's nuts.
It's yeah. So if you want to get a quantum meditation computer, and some quantum DMT,
Yeah, definitely.
you can. It's
Quantum
it
computer.
for just the price of about I think $1,800 for that
I
package.
gotta know the specs on this quantum computer.
Yeah. So here's from his website some stuff about James Rink. So James Rink is a super soldier, meditation practitioner, researcher, author, and video producer. Through his Super Soldier Talk YouTube series, he has helped awaken humanity to the secret activities of the covert government, uncovering topics such as brainwashing, trauma, MILABs, which is short for military abductions, and covert harassment, all of which he has had to endure his entire life as a product of Project Surrogate and Ultra MK MILAB Super Soldier experimentation. His book Lone Wolf chronicles these projects. He spends his time perfecting the Neo Meditation device, which is a chi energizer that helps users relax during meditation so that they can integrate themselves.
Okay. That's I hear these guys, these super soldier guys always talking about like, oh, they've been the target of these like campaigns and stuff.
Yeah.
The government's been beaming pain energy into my balls for the last 6 years to make me do this disinfo podcast.
Yeah.
And you don't see me complaining about it.
At Sunday, whenever we post a new episode on Sunday, there's a brief respite of the ball pain from the government
Yeah.
raise
Yeah.
before it starts up again, and they say you got to do another episode.
The government is using cock and ball torture to help us create this podcast to get this out there. 'Cause
Uh,
massive disinfo campaign. I shouldn't be saying this, but
no, you might have like heard our deal here, and
yeah,
we
maybe
might,
a little.
so maybe but yeah, this was just like right up my alley. I wanted to read all about the super soldier experiments and stuff that these people went through. Now, I couldn't find James Rink's specific like his story on the website because I
Mm,
think he saves that for his book.
sure.
Um, which if I ever find used, I'll probably pick up. I don't want to give this guy money
Understandable.
because of some like there. I'll just say I've got something for the end of this podcast that I think that will
Oh
be
boy.
awful and hopefully somewhat enjoyable.
I can't wait.
So here's kind of the history of this stuff for from the very first video on the Super Soldier Talk YouTube page. So it talks about how Project Ubermensch spun out of programs like MK Ultra, Monarch, Montauk, etc., in places such as the Brookhaven Labs, National Ordnance Laboratories, MIT, and they started to experiment with implanted alien DNA to generate psychic abilities such as telekinesis, teleportation, telepathy, and mind control. And by 1978, these programs had perfected human cloning and started to duplicate anyone who was important in the New World Order, such as President Carter, Congress members, and top Pentagon brass.
Sure. Okay.
These projects continued, and then in 1982, the first cloned super warrior was created at the Moscow Institute of Biological Research. And then the NSA set up these giant underground cloning facilities underneath Antarctica and Iceland to produce more super soldier clones using CIA drug trafficking money.
Okay.
And these armies will be brought out during the New World Order martial law to basically enforce the rule.
I love that they're acknowledging CIA drug trafficking in the same breath as like also we have Antarctic like cloning facilities for super soldiers. That's really incredible.
And here's where I started to get my ears perked up.
Okay.
The Pleiadians and
Ah.
Billy Meyer
Mm.
warned the Illuminati that the clones would rebel and wreak havoc on the planet. So
What? Sorry, hold on a fucking second because we just stepped into another episode right
we
now.
did.
So wait, so Billy Meyer,
Yep, who I think
who
we
is
talked about on
we
the
have
show.
definitely talked about contactee.
Yep.
Who I believe is one of the people who kind of like talks about Pleiadian like psychic contact and
Yes.
stuff. Warned the Illuminati. So is the Illuminati who's behind all this?
The New World Order is running all this stuff. Yes.
Okay.
So which
Just-
is partly Illuminati, partly whatever else.
It's like a
whatever
bunch of
hierarchy you want to throw in there.
world government bullshit. Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I just want to make sure because we were just talking about like, oh, here in Moscow they're developing things. The CIA is doing a thing here.
Here's the thing. This is like a 3-minute and 40-second long YouTube video.
Oh my god!
And it's all of
Okay.
this stuff, and the back like minute and a half is just basically a bunch of like quickly cutting pictures. So all of this information takes place.
Oh my god!
I'm not really cutting anything.
Sure.
This is
I believe
basically
you.
the speed at which it gets given to you.
Jeez. Okay.
So the leader of these clones, for some reason, is given the name Nate, and there's a picture that gets put up, and he looks a bit like a young James Franco, which is interesting. Not really important, just kind of something that I found interesting. And then it just basically says the Omega Project began, and then it gets a lot of pictures of stuff like tunnel drilling hardware. Like we've done stuff for the we've talked about quite a bit in like deep underground military base stuff, and that ritual tunnel opening thing in Europe that you covered.
Yeah.
You know those
the
big
Goddard
like,
tunnel. Yeah.
Yes. You know those big machines that bore
the
through.
giant. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So it starts showing a bunch of images of those, along with images of Billy Meyer, a thing called the chrysanthemum, which I believe is something to do with like a like ascension kind of consciousness thing with aliens, along with various alien and humanoid based alien tech crafts and buildings and like secretive shit. And I think also it then cuts in some of pictures of some of the buildings from Andy Perro's stories, like that library that the one of the like testing bases was like up in the top of that he jumped out of.
Right. Okay.
I recognized a couple of the buildings that they flashed images of, and
so
then
the super soldiers, it's like stolen valor all around between these guys.
this is basically just like setting up. Literally, when I was doing research on this, Andy Perro got referenced by some of the people that I was reading about
makes
here.
Perfect sense.
And then it just says a lone wolf is a dangerous wolf, and that is the end of the video.
That's badass, dude.
Yeah.
What's this guy look like?
Generic white dude with like brunette white dude.
How old?
Probably in his like mid to late 30s at least in the pictures I was seeing. I don't know how old those pictures are. Do you ever so I don't know if you find this, but there are times where like I find a thing where there's a person that seems like, oh, a bunch of other conspiracy sites would probably at least reference this guy, and then none of them do. Like this seems like a very like almost self-contained thing, like a little like this whole little like enclave of ex super soldiers only really interact with like their own circles. And so like I kept trying to look for other places like on some of like the bigger websites that I look at for research on this thing, and I couldn't find more about this guy.
I feel like super soldier stuff is kind of a subgenre of a subgenre.
I think
I mean it's just maybe so the scenario here is either it's not that big of enough of a phenomenon in the weird stuff that we see to like cause them to interact too much. Plus,
Mhm.
Andy Perro's like in jail, I'm pretty sure now, and
Yeah.
um, uh, or sometimes the broader community of a subgenre, like UFO contactees or whatever, will sniff out bullshit. Certain people will become ostracized by the community because they're like, oh, these people are the disinfo, or they're like whatever, like it
Yeah.
happens.
I really feel like this super soldier stuff does kind of get thrown, like the one that kind of gets referenced other places is I think James Cosburn, Agent Buried Alive is his code name, and it's an episode that I'm going to do eventually. Um,
Okay, that's kind of a cool name.
yeah, there's a
Kind of
book.
cool.
There's a book like it's a whole thing. But it would be. It's gonna take some digging and probably gonna be a multi-part episode, and I didn't want to do another like multi-part Super Soldier episode quite yet.
You know,
Um,
do you ever stop and think like maybe we could have chosen a theme for our podcast that was simpler, like fast food or something?
I mean, Doughboys kind of have that covered. Like, here's the thing: I realize that we are far from the only conspiracy podcast out there, and even like ones that are kind of comedic and bent and everything. I know there are quite a few other ones out there, but I feel like short of just doing like a movie podcast, which there's no reason why anyone would give a shit about us talking about movies. Uh,
Please donate to our Patreon.
yeah, well, I mean,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Look, we've established the cloud of it gets weird,
Right.
so whatever. But it's like if we were just doing another movie podcast without anything else, then I feel like there's no purchase. Whereas like here, we at least like we have weird interests, like
Well,
things like there's something to be done
it,
here.
it makes me wonder. One of the things that I've kind of wondered, because like I don't listen to other weird I listen to one other weird podcast.
Yeah, I think
basically.
I don't either. It's
I listened to another podcast that's like on its like 40th episode. They're relatively new. And it's because I already knew the guys and I like them. And it's very interesting to see them like as this like fledgling thing. Cause they're talking about stuff. I'm like, yeah, heard it. I know. But I still love it.
Yeah.
Like I'm enjoying getting their perspective on it. That's the whole point of doing this. But like, I wonder if there are other shows out there, like maybe Last Podcast on the Left has just like been so deep in this stuff for so long that they have this like mythos that they can pull from. It's like what Colin said many episodes ago, where it's like, you guys just like will say these terms and I'll have no idea what you're talking about. I just have to nod and agree with whatever it is you're saying. Like we can like like you mentioned like monarch mind control from the Pleiadians under the control of the Illuminati in Antarctica. Like those things. Do other podcasts get that way? Or are we too deep?
Jules talks about this, like brings this up occasionally to me, where she's just like, "You guys really should explain these terms more frequently." And I think about it because, like, I do think there's an element of like maybe we would be more accessible if we did,
Maybe,
but at the same time, like I feel like that I don't like podcasts where they have to like
stop and just
yeah.
Yeah, well, when you get into something like this, it's very difficult to not reference a bunch of other crazy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of things with context clues make sense. I did very quickly run over who Billy Meyer and the Pleiadians are. Like Pleiadians are aliens. Billy Meyer, contactee. But if we had to stop and explain all these things that you've listed, it would just not. We couldn't cover stuff like this.
Everything would be a 2-part episode.
Yeah. So, you can Google, you can go back to other episodes. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you haven't listened through all 300 some episodes of this show, you should be punished, frankly. So,
yeah, I mean, why haven't you listened to all 302
that's what I'm saying.
episodes? So, yeah, that's like the basic rundown of James Rink. He runs this website. There's like probably, I don't know, 200 videos that are all like an hour and a half to 3 hours long of him talking to other super soldiers.
One of those guys.
Or channelers. There's a lot of stuff about people that like channel things. There's a lot of like remote viewing and that kind of stuff involved with this circle.
Okay.
Where I'll get into some of that more later, but all of these videos are like, here's the thing about, new information about the reptilian secret space program alliance with this thing, and it's like James Rink interviewing like 2 or 3 other people that are ex super soldiers or contactees or channelers or whatever, and they're just like doing a talk about it. And it's very hard content to like summarize
Right.
and do so. I always struggled like back when I was doing the Sherry Shriner episode,
Mm-hmm.
all of her podcast episodes are like 2.5 hours and they're recorded like
Yeah.
shit, and she's just rambling and like devolving into like racist screeds every fucking 20 minutes. And so it's really
Yeah.
hard to listen to a lot of it. Um I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway,
I get you're painting a picture. I understand.
the YouTube channel is extensive. I'll
Yeah.
say that. There is a lot of content there, and I will be mining it more in the future. And this website is interesting. I kind of want to find this book. I just don't want to give this guy money
Sure.
directly.
Sure.
So let's get into one of the accounts that he has posted on this website. And uh, here is the first hurdle that I spent a decent amount of time trying to clear this hurdle, and I finally just said fuck it. This is the account of a man named Bruce. Who is Bruce? I could not find a fucking thing. There were
Mm,
2 articles on this website. Actually, sorry, there are 3 articles on this website that mentioned Bruce. There was this account. There was one that I'll talk about later, which is him basically like a bulleted like 9 bullet list of like why you should believe this information. And another place where he's being referenced as a channeler in another person's case as like a backup source.
maybe it's a name for like maybe they can't tell you who he is. Like he's maybe more high profile than your typical super soldier.
Possibly. Like
Maybe it's a
that
code name.
I even went through the YouTube channel, and there's no video where James Rink has a guy named Bruce anything in one of the episodes. So like
Mm.
this is a very interesting account, and I wanted to cover it because it is very interesting and has some stuff that I haven't seen in Super Soldier stuff before. Um but I do not know any more about the man named Bruce than what is given here.
Okay. Okay.
I tried for a while to figure out if it was like a code name for James Rink or something, and I still think there's a possibility that that's true. But that is purely my own guess. I have no information to back that up, other than the fact that that is the only name given, and there's no other explanation for who this person is.
Okay.
So Bruce was started out as a soldier. He was in a Black Ops sniper group called Wraith in Marsoc, which is and Marsoc, I believe, is an actual subdivision of the Marines that do kind of like I think it's like a sniper group inside of the Marines or something. And he was in that group from 2008 to 2017. Now Wraith, I don't believe is real. I think Wraith is a
Call of
subdivision
Duty.
that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
But then he was basically brought into Black Ops private stuff from 2017 to 2018. Um, and that is the like top line stuff. Now, when he was a child in the 90s, he was abducted by gray aliens.
Wow.
He was pulled up by a tractor beam going through the ceiling of his room. And he was able to see his parents' house below him as he was brought up into the sky. He was brought up into a large silver flying saucer that was about 80 feet across, and it was in orbit above the Earth. And because he has a predilection to remote viewing, he saw the ship in kind of third person and was seeing all like kind of remote viewing as he was being abducted, is what he's saying here.
Sure. As you do.
Um, so he was able to kind of get a bit better perspective on this craft. Now, when he came to, he was laying on a table in a round room that was like a whitish silver kind of color, and it was kind of a round room as well. There was this like cylindrical, basically a cylindrical room with a round table in the center, because we're in a flying saucer, I guess.
Mhm.
There were 4 grays standing around him, and he was on what seemed to be an operating table. He doesn't remember being operated on, but was able to like look out of the kind of porthole windows in this room to see the stars in the background. There were these like silver spherical drones that were just kind of seemingly doing some automated business around the craft, um, doing he couldn't tell what they were doing, but he just saw them kind of doing basically chores of the ship. And he was abducted multiple times between the ages of 14 and 15, and every time he would wake up with a nosebleed. Um, there were a couple of the times that he actually went further out into space, all the way past Proxima Centauri, but not to the fourth closest star to us. So whatever, I don't know what star that is, but that was kind of the range of how far away he went. He also this is my one of the early parts of this that I love. Also, from when he was a little kid up until he was 17, the military would also abduct him and
Mm.
take him to an underground base for training. And that makes me really wonder, did the military and also aliens try to ever abduct him on the same night? Did they ever like both show up and be like, "This is embarrassing"?
Oh, this is a little awkward. One of us is gonna have to come back tomorrow.
Yeah, like was there some coordinated schedule?
Look, the kid's
I-
just so abductable. I don't know what to tell you. That's
This is like one of the first places that you really get the vibe of like, okay, super soldier, that means this is a person who really believes they're a special person that is like the main character of the world, you know.
yeah.
That's a thing that we talk about a lot when we see
Yes.
these kinds of stories.
Yeah, they can't seem to I would give so much kudos to the first person who like comes forward with a story like this, but they're like, "Nah, this happened to a friend of mine." You
Yeah.
know, like instead of just being like, "I'm the center of the fucking universe and everybody wants me," including aliens with a higher purpose. Like, yeah, it's yeah, they
Or
all do
like,
this.
I'm not special in any way, shape, or form. I accidentally walked into a room and they're like, "Oh, sure, you're good enough."
Yeah.
Like, if there were ever a case where there was a super soldier that wasn't like the fucking like Deus Ex Machina embodied as a baby, it would be such a refreshing change of
Yeah.
pace. But
Yeah.
instead, you get every single person here.
Everybody
It's
is the
much like,
protagonist.
yeah, everyone is the protagonist of their own reality in both this and in Starseed stuff. I love these accounts because it's so truly ridiculous. But anyway, so this guy's alternatingly getting abducted by the military and by gray aliens, seemingly pretty regularly through most of his young adulthood.
Wednesday night, it's the Palladians' turn for me.
Yeah, like did he keep a fucking calendar? Like anyway, um, so he started to remember stuff like this when he turned 14. He had a dream where he was lying in bed, sleeping in the middle of the night, and there was this whitish blue rotating oval portal that appeared where his closet door was. It started to slowly rotate to the left of him, and these little like streamer type things were coming out of it. And an old man with gray hair who was wearing a black suit stepped through the portal and started to stare at him. He said he looked very much like Ben Rich, the former head of Lockheed Skunk Works.
Oh, everybody knows that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this community that would be like a person that you, because I think he's basically saying that this was like a like black ops fucking person,
Right,
like
right.
someone who would run Blackheed or Lockheed. And after that, a Marine wearing digital camo came through and also began staring at him. After that, he was on a advanced maglev small transport with a group of other kids. It was silver and white and an angular egg shape and traveling very, very fast. And this was when he was brought into a super advanced deep underground military base where he and other kids were begun training for combat.
Mm,
So another staple of this kind of shit is
yeah,
maglev transportation.
yeah.
I I love the idea of these deep underground military bases that are all over the world, but also disconnected enough that you have to travel through like super fast underground transport
Yeah.
that we don't have yet, as far as I know, to get between them so that like you can go from like Arizona to fucking Germany underground over the course of like 40 minutes.
It's, it's it's cool technology that they should really just bring up to the surface so I can go visit, where Germany whenever I want.
It would really solve a lot of problems if we just had like
For real.
fucking fast travel. Uh or I guess teleportation because
Sure, yeah.
these guys came in through a Rick and Morty portal.
Yeah, okay. That would be cool too.
Yeah,
I either way, I'll take either one.
yeah. So I guess the older guy with gray hair was the head of whatever project this person was being brought into.
Project Special Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Project. I'm the protagonist. That they also would dye their hair and spike it up in various bright colors,
Yes,
to make
excellent.
them the protagonist of life. Now, they did do some live fire training with regular guns along with hand to hand combat, and they also shot what looked like experimental energy sci fi guns and trained their third eye. There were times where they were told to meditate together in a dark room with these purple crystals taped to their foreheads, and they would listen to isochronic tones, which I
The crystal meditation thing, didn't actually do anything. They just wanted to see if they would do it.
yeah, it's a hazing ritual. It's
Yeah.
just like them making fun of these little kids. Uh, Now he said there was also a girl there that had telekinesis, and there was also a quote unquote buffed up black guy that was their trainer, and he was really hard on them sometimes. And the older white guy would like kind of get mad at him for being so difficult and hard on the kids. There were times where they would put on this headset, and they would had to this like headset was connected to the ceiling with what he described as like a cape. So I'm guessing it's kind of like a Cerebro type bullshit, like
Okay, yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a helmet that is connected through these like wires and stuff
You
that
can
are like in a cape, whatever.
see all the mutants around the globe.
Actually, they would do fully immersive simulations of fighting aliens.
Okay, so Ender's Game.
Yes, we're
Right.
fucking doing Ender's Game
Of
here.
course.
Now he said that this was he didn't experience a lot of trauma here. This wasn't like an MK Ultra like breaking them through trauma kind of thing. He said the most traumatizing thing that happened there were times he was put in like a deprivation chamber, um, and he was given a small breathing apparatus and was told to stay calm as they would like leave him in this like what do they call the fucking
Sensory deprivation?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. He was basically the most quote unquote traumatizing thing that happened to him during these
Is
exercises
sensory deprivation.
was being put in
Thanks.
separate sensory
Okay.
deprivation, which
That's not
is
very traumatizing.
no, like I guess if you don't know what you're getting into, that would be kind of scary the first
Yeah.
time. But
And especially if you do a bunch of drugs before you might come out an ape man.
yeah, you might altered states yourself. Um, yeah. So they just that was the worst thing that happened. Now when he turned 17, he signed documents and joined Wraith out of his own free will.
Mm.
So the like abduction stopped, and he actually decided, "Hey, this is actually kind of a cool thing. I'm going to do this professionally." Which is honestly, this is the thing that made me want to do this, because this is the first time I've ever seen a super soldier story
Yeah.
where it was like signed up for. Like
Yeah.
this person was like, "Yeah, I'll do
You know
this."
what? Enough abductions. I like where you guys are going with this Wraith shit. I'm in.
Yeah. Like so many of these things are like I was broken and like injured and abused as a child, and like molded into this like with like code phrases and stuff that would make me do things and like all of these things. Whereas this one's just like, yeah, I got to hang out with Grays and also like this secret government organization as a kid that taught me how to do like beam weapons and shit. And I thought that was interesting. So yeah, he joined Wraith out of his own free will at the age of 17, and Wraith is a Black Ops psychic sniper program that is at the very top level of like the like secretive level of the Marines. It consists of 30 psychic cybernetic snipers who use remote viewing, precognition, and sniping skill to get exact kill shots. It was formed
Mm.
in September of 2007. Um, at, and before that, it was like it wasn't like a unit; it was like a project that they were working on under the same code name. He joined on February 4th, 2008. Now, he did an accelerated training program that only lasted a month, but then at the end of the month, they time traveled him back to 3 days after the program had started. Because I guess they needed him. He says because of his German heritage, And because he
Hmm.
has precognition, remote viewing, and remote influencing capabilities,
Okay.
along with a lineage of his family being in the military. So those were kind of things. For some reason, they wanted to accelerate his training to get him in the field quicker.
Sure.
I don't know why being German has anything to do with wanting to be used
Well,
quicker for
does
this
this turn
stuff,
out
but
to be a secret Nazi program?
no. I like there will be a Nazi thing later, but entirely unrelated to Bruce here.
Okay. All right.
So he started to work these remote viewing sniper missions, um, starting in Iraq, I think. Let me see here.
It just seems like such overkill to train people to become perfect psychic snipers.
For Earth based warfare, yes, but wait,
Oh, okay. They're
just
gonna
hold on.
fucking fight aliens.
So he was originally sent to the Iraq War during the later part of the Surge, which I don't know if that's an actual thing or not. I didn't follow the war super closely. But he basically would rappel down onto a rooftop when there was heavy fighting going on down below, and they would use like a spotter that was doing helping with the remote viewing to set up these like basically unreal shots, like able to snipe people in ways that
Oh
you
my
shouldn't be
god.
able to do that
Okay.
because of their remote viewing and like telekinesis and shit. And here's the process in which he was picked up for these missions that I think is really interesting. He would be doing whatever he would be doing at his house, just living his life, and the military would show up in a Humvee that had this like cannon on it, and this cannon would shoot a temporal anomaly into his house where he was, and the anomaly would freeze time inside of that
What the fuck?
anomaly. They would come into his house and activate him, and then take him to Wraith headquarters, which was underground near Camp Lejeune in North Carolina.
So wait, if they're activating him, does that mean like he's not fully aware of his involvement with this project?
He was, but then as part of the project, they would basically suppress memories of the missions
Mm.
when he wasn't activated. So he did join it of his own free will, but part of being a part of this group is that you have a civilian life, and then you also get activated
Okay. Okay.
through these. So part of the activation was he was hooked up to this like kind of fitting, like skinny fitting black exoskeleton, and he would be injected with a clear looking liquid that made him more compliant to follow orders. He does say that he still had free will when under this like clear liquid, but it just basically made him more willing to do these things. And then, oh, he also does claim that both Wraith and another similar group called Hammerhead are good groups that are fighting for people's freedom. So
Mhm.
this is all good.
Yeah, I'm sure that yeah, no, based on everything you've told me, especially getting involved in the Iraq war, it all sounds on the up and up to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He would then be injected with a glowing tan looking liquid that would basically activate his superhuman powers and allow him to work through his third eye.
Okay.
And then after that, he would go on missions for some length of time and then come back. They would erase his memories, cancel out the liquids in his bloodstream, and return him home, shooting another anomaly into his house, place him in there, and then basically stop the anomaly. And he would be brought back basically moments or a little bit after he had left.
What wait, what the fuck?
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
So
when you're starting, let me just say this. We're starting this story by saying there's a military Humvee with a cannon that shoots time anomalies.
yeah, I know. It's just that so what? His like abode is like temporally displaced and then like when they reactivate the cannon, it drops him back in the time from when they took him, but when he's outside of the anomaly, it's like regular time is flowing or whatever. Is that am I understanding correctly?
Yes.
Cool. Well, that's insane. But that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the crazy. Like this is all crazy, but go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, he would then just be hanging out. He said he would have an experience of like zoning out for a second when he would get kind of brought out of it. And then he would come to sometimes in a slightly different part of his house. And he always kind of had this faint memory when he was left behind that there was some like military thing that had happened. Uh, he also said that he would constantly wake up with needle marks in his arms from the injection of those two different liquids. He then was also sent to TR-3B, which was like a craft that was taking him into Iraq.
Well, if we're thinking in leet speak, that's Treb.
True. Uh, he had a couple more missions in Iraq and also one, I think, in Afghanistan. Um, and they would occasionally run into other Marines who would question who they were because they had these patches that had death and a scythe on them and with glowing red eyes, and on top of the patch it read Wraith and then N140. So
I feel like I've seen those patches before.
maybe. Um,
Online, I mean.
yeah. So sometimes military people would be like, "Hey, who are you and why are you here?" And and as I quote, we always told them to shut the fuck up and don't ask us who we were."
Cool. That's
Yeah.
badass.
So he went on all these missions. He took out key Taliban leaders with sniper rifles. He eventually would shoot like some various. He claims Muslims and Russians,
Um,
seemingly at kind of. I'm guessing it was directed, but he doesn't name any specific people that he killed.
sure.
Um,
Conceptually very funny that the US is like, we don't want to just do war crimes. We want to do super war crimes.
yeah. Oh God, I got to pick up the pace here, or else we're not going to get. He had this kind of touch and go thing with a Russian who got a knife on him, and he had to like fucking do, military combat bullshit, super soldier combat shit to overpower this guy and stab him with a knife. So he did
Uh-huh.
close range combat too, but he supposedly still has a scar from on his cheek from where the guy got him. Um, so then when he turned, this was all when he was 17. When he turned 18, he was sent to Mars.
Jesus, what the fuck?
And the military pulled up to his house, shot an anomaly into my room where I was at, and came into the house and activated me, and then restored my memories. They took me to a base. I was given my contacts, which are these like computer contacts that glow gold that allow him to do whatever bullshit. And he was hooked up to his exoskeleton, injected with the fluids, and then placed onto a
Jump
secret
pad.
space program craft
Uh-huh.
entitled the USS Vengeance,
Okay.
which stands for the United States Starship Vengeance.
Sure. I thought this was about to be jump room shit.
No, the, there are super soldiers from this like group on Super Soldier Talk did mention some jump room stuff, but this guy specifically was taken to Mars on a craft that got there in, I think he said 15 seconds.
Okay.
But he describes the craft as like a mile long and tactical digital black, which I think just means like military kind of camo black.
Mhm.
And had these like red and white lights. It was part of a secret space program that the Marines had access to at the, like the higher levels, and was staffed by various Marines that were part of this secret space program. It had these like massive screens that replaced that were like effectively windows on the sides of the craft that could be activated to look outside. It also had like trees and stuff on this. It was like I've talked before about some secret space program stuff where they're like effectively it's like its own like biome on the craft, and it seems like that's kind of the deal here.
Okay.
Um, and he was basically brought into a briefing room where he was given kind of the idea of what was happening, and he was going to go on Mars, and there is a kind of a war between a bunch of alien races, and let me get here. There were the Draco aliens, which work with the Nazi secret space program.
Mm.
There are the Greys who have been enslaved by their own technology, and a lot of them were cybernetic.
What?
Their race had been dying out, and they had made clones, but that wasn't working. So they abducted humans to create hybrids to sustain their
Oh my
race.
god, that's a new one.
I mean, it's kind of in the whole like
I just mean like,
Zeta Reticuli like program.
yeah,
You know,
I'm thinking like grays that have become enslaved by their own technology is like
yeah.
conceptually a little new to me, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious if that has any ties to like the time traveling like Greys being from the future kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Where they're like humanity that has gotten so
Evolved
fucked up
to it. Yeah, yeah.
that they had to come back and save it. But he was briefed on Greys, the Alpha Draconians, who seem to be the big bads here, the Mantis and the Canonens.
Okay, now I know this is bullshit because the Mantis aliens are like party chill guys. Like they would never get involved in a Martian war.
They are on our side.
Okay,
So,
well,
and there's also the Lyrans, who are like a like bat-like race. So the Canonans are like a humanoid dog-like race, and the Lyrans are like a bat-like race. And he says other ones that he doesn't quite remember. The Alpha Draconians are racists who believe they are the master race in the universe, and they went around and conquered other reptilian races and developed like a caste system, with the top rank being these like 14-foot tall white draconians that have wings, and they're called the Royal White Draco. Uh,
mm,
the Lyrans and Canonians are both spiritual militarists, and they're on our side. Whatever, I don't exactly know what he means by spiritual militarists, but
seems a
that
little counterintuitive there, but whatever.
yeah, it's that they seem to be kind of happy about hanging out with us. And then that's kind of the main rundown of the alien races here. He also was shown a bunch of like technology that was able to heal people very quickly, even like regenerating people's arms in a matter of hours.
They showed him eye dosing drugs
He
that
literally
he'd never even
what's
fathom.
what's fucking funny here is he's like I was shown a medical device called a tourniquet, but this is not
Uh,
just like a normal tourniquet. This is a thing that would like heal most wounds in
okay,
over the course of a couple minutes. Uh, but it's just he just called it a tourniquet, which is just a thing.
yeah,
That's
that's
just
like
like
an actual real life thing, by the
yeah.
way.
So they were also then like given a kind of tour of the craft, and they were shown all these like they were given like basically glass iPads that just had access to like any information on the craft. So I don't know why he doesn't have a lot more to report here, because I guess he just wasn't super curious. I don't fucking know. Um, so yeah, the trip to Mars only took 15 seconds, which really makes me wonder how they got all of this down in that time. Maybe they just like were hanging out on the ship before it actually
That
took
was
off.
pre-launch, I guess.
Yeah, but he says that Mars is not red and is not the dead planet that NASA wants people to think. It had a blue sky and it looked like the Arizona desert. It's also populated with many races, wildlife, trees, bodies of water, and is very much like Earth. Now, this is a theory that I've come
Uh-huh.
across a couple other places. Hoagland talks about this quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
How a lot of the Mars photography that we have from like Mars rover and stuff are specifically tinted and altered so that they only show a certain bandwidth of light to keep it looking like Mars is an inhospitable planet, because that keeps the basically keeps the ruse alive.
Sure. Uh-huh.
So yeah, there is oxygen there, but it's only really breathable for a short time in the polar regions. And the planet was once much more like Earth in the past, but due to a nuclear war there, the atmosphere got fucked up. But they're in kind of the process of making it more inhabitable in the future. Uh,
Okay. I mean, whatever. I was about to talk about nuclear winter, but we don't have time to. Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, look, there was a Martian nuclear winter at some point. I think if you like the whole Mars nuclear warfare thing goes back like thousands of years
Oh, okay.
to like the
Okay.
pyramids of Mars and stuff
Right.
when those were inhabited, and there's like trenches that look like they might have held water at some point. There's if you want to know more about this, sign up for the Patreon. I read a
It's
whole book
the
about
Hoagland book, right?
yeah
Yeah.
I read Dark Mission: The Secret History of NASA by Richard Hoagland and Mike Barra has all sorts of stuff about Mars and the moon and like tetrahedral geometry and like ritual significance of things and all of like the NASA plan to cover up all of this shit. So yeah, you can find all of that there. But he was basically then was they went to a small outpost base on Mars that was run by the good guys here, which seems to be a mixture of a couple alien races and this subdivision of the Marines that this guy was a part of. Um, and basically, they started to assassinate draconian officials. Um,
Okay.
they would like use remote viewing and these like special bullets that they would have to shoot the draconians like in the base of their neck, and the bullet would then like have like an electrical pulse that would allow them to get basically murdered. And they would then there were times where they would do missions where they had to simultaneously knock down 3 targets at once with 3 different people. So, like, 3 different snipers would
All on
be
one target?
on 3 different
Oh,
targets.
on
So they
3
would have
different
to,
tar
like,
okay.
knock out, like, entire, like, command structures at
I
once,
see, I see. Okay.
uh, for whatever reason. So they would have to, like, they were
That's
given their lenses that they wore allowed them to kind of seemingly through, like, either heat or IR or something, see through walls, so they could basically snipe people through remote viewing and these ridiculous, sci-fi sniper rifles that shoot special bullets that kill draconians were able to, like, eliminate. I think he said he killed, like, something like 78 alpha draconians in his tenure there.
okay, pretty good, pretty
Now,
good.
he didn't only snipe them. This is one of the things that really stuck out to me about this whole thing is there was a time where he had to, um, kill one of the draconian generals using his power of remote influencing, which seems to be a method of, like, low-key mind control,
Mhm.
where he effectively, using his telekinetic powers or whatever, his psychic powers, effectively made a draconian stab himself to death.
Okay, well, I mean, if we're gonna be psychically remote viewing sniping people, then I'll accept that one as
I
well.
I don't know why he didn't just shoot that one too. Like, this is one of those things that's like, it feels like he was telling this story and making up as he was going along, and, like, telling about how he kept shooting draconians was getting kind of boring, and maybe someone in the crowd was, like, looking at their phone. So he's like, "Oh, I didn't just shoot them. I also used my powers of remote influencing to make one stab himself to death."
Okay,
And the person put down their phone. He's like,
and the crowd
"Thank God."
cheers.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, sure.
Yeah, so then after he spent some time out on Mars just committing alien assassinations, he was brought back to Earth, and for 8 years, sorry, he was on Mars for 8 years, and then after that he came back and joined a private military group called Hammerhead for a year, where they would go after gun and drug runners along with Illuminati and shadow government operatives.
He must have felt really, really awkward going from alien assassination to this.
Yeah, it, like, straight up, he went from, like, assassinating alpha draconians on the Martian planet to just, like, going to Chile and killing
Drug
drug
smugglers?
kingpins. Yeah.
That's insane.
But also, like, new, like, Illuminati soldiers and shit. Like, it was all of these different the stuff. He was part of a thing called Operation Shark Knife, where they had to basically take out a Chilean cocaine complex
Why the fuck?
where he had to assassinate the leader of it.
What about the CIA's supply?
I look, they must have been getting in on the turf. I don't really know. This is one of those things that really doesn't. I don't know why you would use super soldiers for this. You know,
Right. For sure.
This seems like something you just put in, like, SEAL Team 6 or some shit. I don't fucking know. But yeah, he was he every time he describes the weapon he's using, it's always like, okay, it looked a lot like an AR-15, but the barrel was a little bigger and it fired a special kind of rifle ammunition that we used. And the same thing was like, oh, the sniper rifle we used on Mars was like a 50 caliber, but a little bit bigger barrel, and it fired a special kind of bullet that would kill draconians.
Maybe he's lying that it was a mission and they were just taking out drug kingpins so they could get a bunch of cocaine for themselves.
Maybe. Uh, Literally in this thing, he says, after that, we confiscated some of the cocaine and the weed that the guy had on him and headed back to the base. So I don't know if that was for personal use or if that was just part of the mission. He does not kind of make that any more clear.
Okay.
So he would then he was they would found Illuminati compounds in Brazil, South America, and various other places around the world where they would basically murder Illuminati soldiers and leaders. Uh, and through over the course of his tenure in this organization, he made 137 kills and made over $5,273,000,
Hmm.
which he was supposed to get along with all of his records, benefits, and medals when he was discharged effectively. But because there was a guy as a part of the program who was making threats that he was going to basically blow the whistle on Project Wraith, um, and have tell the world that this thing exists, the commander told him that they would hold on to all of his money and everything and keep it in a private bank along with anything else that he was owed until sometime later down the road when he would be contacted and given everything that he was owed.
Wow. They really just fucking over our vets and forcing them to sell quantum computers.
Yeah. Now, well, this isn't James. This is Bruce.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right.
But yeah, Bruce did not. He says nothing has happened so far. So as of the time of this writing, which I think was, I don't know, I think a couple years ago, maybe 2017 or 18, um, he has not received his money for killing
Gotcha.
Martians
But yeah.
or Chilean drug kingpins. Now, between the ages of 14 and 24, he was also visited by a good kind of mantis race. They were always invisible when they would appear, but he could hear them and feel the vibration from their feet.
Uh-huh.
And because he was able to remote view, he could actually see them. He says they look exactly like giant green praying mantis, and they had pieces of bands of silver metal armor on their body. Um, they were monitoring something about him, but he doesn't know exactly what it was. And the last time they appeared, they gave him a data download about them. Um,
Sorry, this is concurrent with the other abductions, right?
uh, I think this is like
At least for a couple
still
of years.
it's concurrent with some of the military abductions, but I think it's right after the Greys were done with him.
Okay.
I think, if I remember my timeline correctly here. The last time they appeared to him, they gave him a data download about them that told him that they were scientists who were just researching basically everything they could come across in the galaxy. They came from another arm of our galaxy and would just basically do research. They were scientists trying to find out more about the galaxy. Now, he also would just remote view in his free time, which I guess he could do without any of the stuff that they would shoot into him. He said he would remote view all sorts of ruined buildings and bases on the moon that looked like huge glass towers that had been kind of partially destroyed by a huge battle using what he claimed were torsion field weapons. He says there were a few times that he was detected while remote viewing, and it would give him a really bad headache. And he also would remote view alien machines on I'm guessing Mars or the moon, something like that. Um, and he one time remote viewed an alien race that he says looks a lot like the aliens at the end of Pacific Rim.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And they caught him remote viewing them, and they looked right at him, which I think is also like the end of Pacific Rim. Uh, he also one time tried to remote view the whole backside of the moon and immediately got a huge headache. Uh, yeah, let's see. There's also he would remote view this like base on the moon that had all of these rooms that looked like they were from the 50s, 40s, 70s, and some from the future. He saw that it was at first an ancient base made by Nazis, or no, sorry, a base made by ancient humanity, then turned into a Nazi base, and then turned into a U.S. base, and it's called the Lunar Operations Command, which I believe I've actually come across in other stories.
See, what's buried here is that ancient humanity got to the moon.
Yes, which I think is also a thing that I see around in
Yeah.
various like ancient aliens type shit and
Mhm.
stuff about like humanity and their ancient I don't know, ancient races of humans that had advanced technologies and stuff. Like I think that's kind of what we're leaning on
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So yeah, he also says that he remote viewed a planet near the center of the galaxy that was huge and overcast with thick orange clouds, where a bunch of races would go there to worship a god. And also a 4 mile long cigar shaped human run ship in position near the sun. So that's kind of the rundown of the various things that he saw. Um, yeah, that's
What an eventful life Bruce had.
truly.
Has? Maybe I'm guessing he's still around.
I have no fucking idea because I can't find
Oh,
anything else about this guy. But he still was getting. I guess he would still be around because he was still getting referenced as like a source of like remote viewing information more recently on the website. So I would assume he's still around. Um, yeah, that is one of the accounts that I found about Super Soldier Talk. Now,
Whew.
one more little thing
Jesus.
before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
I found an interview that took place between James Rink, a channeler that he had with him that was that he kept having uh, bring about new information and have like channel information that they were talking about, and the big cheese himself, Andrew Basiago.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay, so Basiago's touched on the super soldier community.
Well, I mean, he went to Mars.
Right.
He
He
was
was the
hanging out
jump
with,
room guy,
yeah,
right?
he
Yeah.
was jump room. So this is where that came up. But the this is one of the other reasons why I don't want to buy this fucker's book firsthand. In this interview, he
Oh
kept
boy.
sidelining it to basically be about coronavirus and how it
Mm.
was like a what was it? It was a disease that was sent from a future race that the channeler kept saying that was like that was targeting the Chinese not race species, the Chinese
Oh
species. And
no.
Basiago kept going that we're all one species, there's no Chinese species, like
Oh
fighting back at this
no.
guy. And he kept going, well, that's what the this future civilization was saying, it was fighting the Chinese species. And it's like,
What the fuck?
what the fuck
There
am
is
I
that
reading here?
weird ass there is that weird ass thing about in conspiracy, like racist conspiracy stuff about like the Chinese specifically being the like
Descendants of aliens,
descendants of aliens on Earth,
which I
which
think
is
I covered
insane.
some of
Yeah,
recently.
well, you covered it. I covered it because it gets brought up. They tie it to the Yellow Emperor and
Yeah.
stuff. Which I guess that could be where, but either way, it sounds bad.
Either way, it
Sounds very
just seems
bad.
like a pretty racist thing.
Yeah,
But it
and
was
insane.
it was all about how the coronavirus was like this interview started out talking about Basiago's like jump room stuff and Mars and all the stuff you'd think that they would talk about. And then he kept just like tanking the conversation into
Talk
being
about the
like
Chinese.
racist against Chinese people. And Basiago was like, wait, what are you saying?
Oh wow,
Like,
that's
it's
so fucking funny.
it's kind of funny. It sucks. Like
It sucks,
flat
but
out
he's
sucks.
tripping up the Martian jump room guy. Like,
Yeah. He literally like Basiago keeps going like, wait, what did you like literally in the transcript? It's like, wait, what was that? No,
oh my
there's
God.
no Chinese race. They're
That's
just like they're just a subdivision of the human, like we're all one race.
that's so funny.
Uh
Oh wow. Well, so that's all fucking insane.
yeah. So don't buy this guy's quantum DMT. There's so much more with
That's
other
so
super soldiers.
excellent. I gotta
and,
check this website out.
like I have some other stuff that I'll build into another episode about the healing flowers of Mars, wars and Jupiter life forms, where there's some renderings of military factions of reptilians on Mars and shit. But that will be for another episode.
Excellent.
So now I think that brings us to our big question.
Yeah, hit me with it.
If you had to get drafted into one of the secret organizations that we've covered on this podcast, not necessarily this episode, anything is fair game, which one would you want to join?
Any drafted into any secret organization?
Yeah, any secret organization that we've covered, whether it's military,
Ooh.
ascension, any of these kind of secretive groups that we've covered.
I'd probably want to join Adam Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati.
Okay.
Like during the time that they existed. Like maybe they can fire a temporal beam into their like old like base of operations and I can
Mhm.
just like walk in and suddenly it's the 18th century or whatever. And I'll just introduce them to I'll just like walk in and be like, yo, so you guys are in here talking about all this philosophy stuff? Check this out. And then I'll queue up a YouTube video of Slavoj Žižek.
Yeah, you got to remember to get those videos offline ready before you travel to the 1800s.
Yeah, I'll download a couple of Žižek vids. In particular, the one of him walking down the street eating 2 hot dogs. Well, I'll just introduce him to a
You should introduce them
bunch
to
of cool
Hershey. Hershey squirts a good dog.
Hershey shoots a good dog.
Yeah.
I'll download Hershey shoots and I'll show it to the Illuminati.
Yeah, that
The
would
real
really-
Illuminati. by the
That
way.
would throw them off, I think.
I chose the only like real organization that actually did fuck all.
Yeah.
I'm realizing.
Yeah,
So-
I honestly like I'm trying to remember what the fucking thing is called.
Which one?
Like I feel like I would try to join one of the like the magic schools, you know,
Oh,
like
sure.
one of the because like
Hogwarts, Durmstrang.
yeah,
I remember
exactly.
that. What the fuck?
No, I'm talking about like some of the like kind of occult organizations in like in Europe and like the
Oh,
like 1800s and stuff
get
that
with the Ordo Templi Orientis.
though kind of that kind of stuff where it's they don't like I don't want to join something that's trying to like murder a bunch of people.
Sure.
And a lot of these
Well,
organizations are like, I'm joining the Halo's kill squad that's going out like
right.
I'm gonna or maybe I would just do like solar. Fuck it, let's just do Solar Warden. Where I'm gonna
Okay.
join Solar
Okay.
Warden,
Yeah.
where I just get to hang out on a ship in space, like jacked to shit as like a Master Chief.
Yeah.
And the suit will jerk me off
Yes.
and hang out in space.
I
And
forgot
then
about that aspect of the Solar Warden suits.
literally like that was the first place that I saw someone liken a group to specifically like much like the Spartans from Halo. The
Oh,
members of Solar Warden are basically given all these fucking
absolutely incredible.
these powers and shit.
Solar
then
Warden being the project to like, it's like outer space defense with super
Yeah.
soldiers.
You're not actively trying to kill other people. You're just hanging out on a ship being like
Maybe something's coming.
yeah, you know, keep and watch. It's a defensive organization. I don't like military organizations in general, but like this seems like one of the least harmful ones that I could join. So if I have to do one of those, I think that's where I would go. Plus, you get to hang out in space, in like a super soldier suit. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds sick. I love
yeah,
that. I'd honestly like to do both. Maybe I could go become a super soldier and then go like beat Adam Weishaupt's ass.
yeah.
Be like, you
Just
never accomplish anything. Get it together.
show up to the Bavarian Illuminati meetings dressed like fucking Master Chief.
Yeah.
Ugh, how would they deal with that?
I think they would die on the spot.
Oh man, where's your god now? So I think honestly that will bring us to some business.
Okay.
Do you want to take care of that? Let's.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/It Gets Weird Podcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird and we're probably there.
It Gets Weird Podcast at gmail.com. Do not email us to be on our show. Do not be like, I wrote a self-help book. Can I come on your show? You didn't listen to what we're about.
Yeah.
If you email us that shit, you didn't listen. And
I love
know.
the emails that start with like, I really like the stuff you guys produce. I'd love to be on your show and be interviewed. Then you don't know what we do.
And then it's like, I would love to be on your show to be interviewed. I love the things that you guys do. I would love to talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck off. Don't do that shit. They're not even listening to this, so what's the point?
No.
But yeah, email us so we can fill our tummies up and we'll read your emails on the show sometimes. Patreon.com/It Gets Weird. Donate to our Patreon. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. If you donate to the $2 tier, you get an episode of our bonus show, It Gets Weird TV, every other week. If you donate to the $5 tier, you get that show plus another show on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting a new episode every other week or every single week. And whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to our mainline episode 2 days early. And you get access to our Discord where we're hanging out, talking about all kinds of stuff.
A lot of talk about Morbius.
A lot of
lately.
talk about Morbius lately. The Discord, for some reason, really wants us to watch Morbius. So that's the current bit.
At least a vocal contingent of them. I'm not sure it's the whole Discord. I think it's
Fair.
about 3 people,
Yeah.
but
Morbius is a big topic right now. And if you want to contribute to the Morbius discourse, please check out our Patreon. We also have a $1 tier where you don't get anything out of it. You just get the satisfaction of, kicking a tip to your favorite podcast about weird shit. And I'm going to go ahead and say donate to your local, Planned Parenthoods and things like that. I'm just feeling like we
any
should,
pro-abortion charity or activist organization.
this is a pro-choice podcast. I don't think that that's a very controversial thing for us to say. Hopefully, presumably people know where we stand on these kinds of things now. If you don't, you do now. So please, if you can't donate to us, check that out. Or you can also tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast and why they should be pro-choice.
Yeah.
For real though.
Yeah, this is an actual maybe thing of email your congressman.
Yeah.
So on that note, we'll go and wrap this one up. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle signing out.